Welcome to Our Candy Rose for those who stay, a podcast created in loving memory of my daughter, Candace Rose, she lived from 2007 to 2025. Your life will never be in vain. Everything we do will be in your name. Each episode of this podcast is born from love and from longing, a way to hold onto what cannot be lost, and to share stories of how grief reshapes us. Today's conversation is no different. It's about how we meet grief in our own ways, through logic, through emotion, and sometimes through both. So again, happy Sunday and welcome. Today we're exploring grief through two different lenses. One that leans towards logic and acceptance, and another that lives deeply in the heart. Grief is not one size fits all. There's no single right way to grieve, just as there's no single kind of loss. Our grief reflects who we are, what we've lived through, and how we make meaning. I'm joined today by my friend Jen. We used to work together, and now we're far apart. She's still in Kansas City enduring the storm, and I'm out here in North Carolina. And she knows me not just through loss, but through life, through conversations we've had, reflections, and the ways we try to understand hard things together. She's connected to our Candy Rose through our relationship and support that she's shared, and just humanity in general. I invited her here because her way of processing grief is thoughtful, grounded, and honest. Today isn't about comparing losses or ranking pain. It's about listening to each other and to ourselves. As we talk about grief, or about how grief shows up differently in different lives. Okay, Jen, before we talk about grief itself, I'd love for you to share a little bit about who you are and how you're connected to our Candy Rose.
Uh, Hello. First, I want to thank Dena for the opportunity to speak on her podcast. Um, so a little bit about me. I'm a 50-year-old mother and grandmother. Uh, I'm a nurse and I work at the VA, and I recently was diagnosed last year with uh, autism and ADHD. Um, And then I have some other like letters too of mental illness, but um
Yeah, all the things. Yeah.
yes. But uh and like Dina said, we worked together for I've been at the VA 3 years, so it was about 3 years that we worked together. Um and I I did I was connected to our Candy Rose through Dina. Uh, I am a painter as well on the side, and I started out painting for stress relief several years ago, and then I just kind of started learning on my own on how to do things with painting. And then I started my own business in May, and um, I set up a booth at Our Candy Rose with painting, and I uh, chose Restart as my charity, and I was able to sell one painting there and gave
Yay.
gave proceeds to Restart. Um, so um, I think I met Candace one time, I believe. Yeah, she came into the hospital there, and so I got to meet her, and she
Yeah,
was
there
a
was
little she was a little quiet, but
Yeah,
uh,
there was a couple days where I had to bring her in because I didn't either
mhm,
trust her at home by herself for one reason or another. So I had her posted up in the locker room area,
mhm.
and it
Yes.
freaked some people out because it was so funny. Like they're like, "There's a little girl back there." I mean, like she wasn't little; she's still a teenager, but still, I was like, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
So I need to have to take the day off where she gets to hang out, like laying on one of those couches or however we had it set
Hmm.
up. She seemed to figure it out
Hmm.
back there,
Yeah,
but
and I think she had like her purplish reddish hair done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she loved that red hair, that's for sure. Not
So
my
yeah,
favorite, but that was her
that was
personality and
her.
how she got
She's
to, you know,
expressed
experience
herself.
things. I
Hmm.
know, right? Well,
Hmm.
and so the picture that we used at the funeral,
Hmm.
they were initially asking me for a picture just because they wanted to see how we wanted her makeup,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
natural and just subtle, but still like still her, and how she
Hmm.
would like appreciate it. So
Hmm.
that's the picture that I sent. And then that's the picture that they used for
Oh.
her on like,
Hmm.
on everything. And it kind of like at first when I walked in, I was like, oh no, like because it had her red hair and I was like, oh, Candace, like it's like of course, like okay, thanks
Yeah.
Candace, like
Hmm.
but that's who she is, and she felt confident and beautiful in
Hmm.
it. So I had
That's
just to
right.
be like, that's her. Yeah, even if I just
Hmm.
wanted them to use that picture as makeup, I mean, ultimately, like they knew. And she
Yeah.
knew. So she got what
Yep.
she wanted even after she passed. She's like, haha,
Hmm.
mom, I saw am being shown as my red hair.
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
So, in the past, like, when I started this podcast and I wanted you and Mike and anybody else that wanted to share like a part of it, of course. And um, through grief and through our losses, individually and professionally, and, through relationships, kind of like what you talked about yesterday through text message, you've shared with me in the past that when you experienced the loss of your grandfather, your grief surprised you, that it felt more like
Hmm.
logic than emotional. I'd love for you to talk right now about that experience in whatever way feels right for you. So,
Okay. So I, first of all, I've never had anybody pass away uh directly close to me as far as like a child or parent or grandchild yet. But so my grandpa would have been the closest thing.
yeah.
And I was closer to him and my grandma as opposed to my dad's parents. Um, but I still, um, like when he passed, I was emotional very briefly, like I got like a little bit teary eyed, but after that, it's more of the logical side, like, well, um, okay, grandpa's passed away. He's not here anymore physically, but um my this is just my belief system,
Yeah.
but I believe that the soul of a person or the spirit of a person is still alive and they will be for eternity. Like there will be no ending to that. And I I mean I'm not gonna claim to know like exactly where they go or what they're doing, but in my belief, I know that they're waiting for Judgment Day because that will occur later someday.
Hmm.
But eh, but I also feel like, and this is where like other people might, you know, I don't like offending people, so
Oh, no,
but
but
this
this
is
is your
just
perspective, and that's why you're here today, so
yeah,
that people can
it's
like
just
not feel pressured to feel a certain way, but feel
yeah.
you being vulnerable and opening up to us today, it's going to
Hmm.
hopefully be relatable to somebody else, and so that they don't feel like estranged from grieving,
Hmm.
however it feels for them.
It feels for them, yeah. Um, yeah, so I feel like they're no longer connected um to Earth because um I feel uh, like once we pass away, it. all things on that happened here are remembered no more, and tears are wiped away, and um there's peace, and things like that. So if they were able to be connected back to Earth, they would see things and experience things that would still bring pain
Mhm.
and tears and grief and things like that. Um, so that's why I feel like they aren't connected really
That
to,
makes sense. Yeah, there's all
like they're
that gray
waiting.
area.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's all
Mm-hmm.
that gray area where logic, it's kind of like I kind of dove a little bit into this is terrible because I want to like have the exact words, but it's kind of like past life regression or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where energy is never destroyed or created. So, and
Mm-hmm.
our souls and body hold energy. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this hippy dippy side of me, and then there's this logic
Mm-hmm.
side of me. And Candace was more my hippy dippy, and then Bella's more my logic. And
Mm-hmm.
to
I could
see
see
them
that.
both, yeah, and then to see them both like together or separately, like I connect, like I get both of them,
Mm-hmm.
and then to know exactly where I stand, that's that gray area where like I kind of want to Goldilocks, kind of like I like that a little bit and I like that a little bit, but especially through grief, like it's I could feel a certain way one day, like the very logical side, and feel
Mm-hmm.
stable, and then the next day I'm literally just grasping for straws to try to feel something to be closer to her, like
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
all the TikTok and social media stuff. And I get like when whenever there's something out there that's like, oh, do this, this, and this, or um, I'm just going to use that same past life regression thing again, just to kind of like feel like there's something bigger than just being here. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's, I guess, long story short, is like the purpose, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and is this just a tool in our conscious society or, like as the
Mm-hmm.
universe as a whole, like how they say conscious, like
Mm-hmm.
culture or something like that. But
Yeah.
no, that totally resonates with me, what you're saying.
It's interesting that you said what you said just now. I remember hearing just recently about they just discovered that your your consciousness stays there after you pass away for like so many
Yeah,
minutes or
I've
something to
heard the
that effect.
7 minute thing as well.
Yeah.
But then it's
I don't know
hard.
how true that is, but
Yeah, and then, then I go down that rabbit hole as well because I'm like 7 minutes from when, like when, you
hmm
know, like for Candace, for example, we found her unconscious and, not breathing and
hmm
no, like pulseless, in her on her bed. She asphyxiated, she had a hypoxic brain injury and ended up 10 hours and 21 minutes. We tried to save her from on scene to um, the hospital, Truman Medical Center in Kansas City, through the ER up
hmm
to the ICU. And you and Mike came and visited. Thank you so
hmm
much.
hmm
But then I'm like, at what point, like, was it when, her last heartbeat we let her have, like,
hmm
or was it earlier, because
hmm
even through the whole ICU stay, her pupils were fixed and dilated. She didn't have any neurological response. So, you know, I didn't want to prolong her death, but I just wanted to give her a fighting chance,
Oh,
like in
absolutely.
healthcare you always hear about these miracles like, oh,
hmm
I would have never guessed, right? Like I've seen it
Yep.
personally as well from working in the emergency
hmm
medicine and ICU and everything. So,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah,
still
you
ended up
always
with
want
this
to,
result.
well, it's like in our nature to want to preserve life,
Yeah.
like that's how we're made. Um, so, and it's your child.
Yes.
That's the second biggest reason, or first biggest reason, probably. But like, yeah, you want to do everything you can to give that person a chance,
But
stuff
once we
can,
realized that there wasn't going to be any quality of life, we were just
yeah.
keeping her body alive. And then her body,
Hmm.
like I walked away to go FaceTime my ex-husband and the doctor in a different room because the service was, the cell service wasn't that great. And then
Hmm.
Sam ran in and was like, Dena, you have to come back. And I ran.
Hmm.
And it was like, you hear whenever, and that's why I think she was still kind of there, I guess, because
Hmm.
as soon as I walked away, it was like her chance to like leave without like
Yep.
me being there kind of thing. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
know. Like she knew I was there, but she didn't want me to like see it. Like she was still trying to protect me in that
Yes.
moment. And
Hmm.
Sam's like, nope, not on my watch, girl. Ran back and
Yes.
they were getting ready to code her again. And then, because I had her full code this entire time, because that's what we decided. Just give me 24 hours. Just give me 24 hours. Give us 24 hours, I guess,
Right.
for lots of different reasons and not just being selfish. Um, but she took it into her own hands and she was, because I know that 24 hours would hit and I'm like, okay, another 24 hours, like as
Hmm.
that mother, but
Yeah.
as a professional, I never had that feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so devastating to watch them like hold on to
Hmm.
something that is never going to be that person ever again. So
Hmm.
I kept telling them, I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can't say that. So it gives you a whole
Hmm.
different perspective for family members when they're coming into a situation like that. And everyone in that hospital was so compassionate and so kind and so willing to like just have these honest conversations with me. And that's what
Awesome.
I said at the very beginning. I said, don't sugarcoat anything. Just tell me. Just be completely transparent with me. I will
Hmm.
try my best, to be a part of this team. Um, because ultimately we're all wanting the same thing, either
Hmm.
to get her back to baseline or to get her comfortable,
Right.
to pass in a comfortable way. And so when they were getting ready to code her for the last time, I immediately was like, Mama Bear, like I just felt like that was traumatizing her body
Hmm.
and everyone in there just to get her heartbeat back for another 20 minutes until we had to do it again. And I was like, no, we can't keep
Hmm.
beating her body up. And I feel terrible for that, but everyone in the room, you could just kind of hear this sigh of relief, kind of like, because
Hmm.
I literally looked around, I was like, does anybody disagree with me?
Hmm.
Like, again, this is a team. Am I not seeing something? And so that was really
Hmm.
beneficial to me that you had everyone around, like, helping making those decisions.
Absolutely.
And so, again, what you're
Hmm.
describing reflects something grief researchers call continuing bonds,
Hmm.
the idea that love and connection doesn't end at death.
Hmm.
The idea that, they're like you're saying, their energy just exists. And I love that
Hmm.
idea. I love that
Hmm.
connection doesn't end at death. And that's what I think with our Candy Rose and doing everything with our community, trying to keep everything that we do with local businesses and local charities. I think that really helps for
Hmm.
many people. That brings that peace, grounding, and a sense of ongoing relationship. And it keeps her alive, like
Hmm.
say her name and she's still here.
Yeah.
I want to
Yep.
say this part clearly. Grief that looks calm, logical, or steady is not lesser grief. It's not denial. It's not lack of love. It's one of the many honest ways humans survive loss. So, again, in my work as a nurse, I've stood beside countless deaths, watched families wail, whisper, sit silently, or hold each other upright. I've learned there's no single correct posture of grief, but I also know that some losses change the terrain entirely. Like
Hmm.
my path of my life has changed completely. I mean, not just
Hmm.
career wise, but, you know, demographically, like location, geographically.
Hmm.
So when I
Mm.
lost Candace, logic could not hold me for a little while. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I mean, I just didn't want to because I was so emotionally, attached. And
Yeah. Yeah.
every mother should be emotionally attached to their children, but again, like every human process is different, and
Hmm.
whatever helps you through that stage is completely okay. So no framework can make it make sense for me.
Hmm.
Logic said death is a part of life. My heart said, not her, not my child.
Hmm.
Like, please don't make it make sense, Like, and then you go through all those stages, like, whose fault is it then, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, then I just want to be like, okay, well, yes, it's partially her fault because of X, Y, and Z, but it's
Hmm.
also other people's fault who did X, Y, and Z as well, or ABC,
Hmm.
or whatever letter you want to
Hmm.
associate with what other people are doing as well. And that
Right.
loss broke me open in a way nothing else ever had. Grief, I've lost my dad, and I wouldn't be able to even say the word dad for like a year after he passed,
Mm.
and I thought that was the hardest thing. And I was going through nursing school at that time. So I was really struggling to be successful, but also like go through grief. And so it's like that fine line, and when you end up graduating, you just hope that they're out there, being proud of you, like being able,
Hmm.
and you just look up and well, thanks, Dad,
Yeah.
and now I say,
Hmm.
thanks, Dad and Candace,
Yeah.
and Candy Girl. And grief wasn't something I could think my way through. It was something that I had to endure minute by minute. And yet,
Hmm.
even in that devastation, love remained. Her presence remained. The bond did not disappear, it just transformed.
Hmm.
This is where grief becomes deeply personal. Some losses may be met with acceptance and peace, others bring us to our knees. Neither response is wrong, both are human. So, do you think your way of grieving would hold if the loss were different? Like I know you said yes, that was my grandfather, but yes, you have children and grandchildren. It's really hard to be like, "Oh, I would or I could." I mean, but have you been able to kind of like
Mm.
depending on who we lose?
Yes. My Now I know I cried harder when my cat died than I have anybody else I know that's died so far. But my children and my grandchild, I feel like I would be very emotional and I would probably go into a deep depression. Um,
Tell us a little
and
bit about your cat, though. Like, so,
oh,
again, like everyone
well,
has different stages of grieving for anybody, not just children and not just parents or immediate family members. It could be pets too. So you're right. So go
yeah.
ahead if you feel comfortable
Well,
talking about that.
yeah, it's been several years ago, but she was about a year old. She was part Persian cat and she was like a fluffy white ball and I named her Lizzie. And it was very traumatic. But I didn't know that like I went downstairs and turned the dryer on and I was upstairs and I kept hearing like a thumping sound or whatever. But um but I was like, oh well, maybe I had a pair of shoes in there or something, so I didn't really but I kept hearing it, it kept getting louder and louder. I was like, what in the world? And like I went downstairs and opened the dryer up and I didn't see her,
Oh, no.
but there was like blood all inside the dryer and it like I knew what had happened and I just literally like started bawling my eyes out. Called my mom and she couldn't understand me, so she thought something had happened to one of the kids, or whatever. And
Yeah.
so then I went to my neighbors. I lived in an apartment building with four apartments. So I went to my one neighbor's. She's a dog groomer and she likes animals and stuff like that, and we were friends. And I told her that what had happened and stuff, and her. boyfriend at the time came over and got Lizzie out of the dryer, wrapped her up in blankets so I didn't have to see her. And then my neighbor went over big pregnant and she cleaned the entire dryer out
Oh,
inside so there wasn't any, blood or anything in there. And I was like, when I went to her door, like I knocked on the door and I was just like bawling and crying. And yeah, it's still I don't know if it was traumatizing because, well, just because of what happened, but also like I wonder if there's guilt there
yes.
because I didn't know
Right.
she was in there and I should have checked first, and it still like makes me nauseous. But um so it's and maybe I react more to that than people because animals are like they're innocent,
I know. Poor
and
babies. Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
don't
like
know. It's
babies and animals like that can't protect themselves. Yeah.
hmm but I would imagine, yeah, I would probably get into a deep depression if it was one of my kids, my
Because don't you
grandkids.
have a sister and a niece that's
I
going through
have,
stuff? I mean, I don't want you to put anything
yeah.
on here that is
hmm
sensitive, but
No, I do have a sister and a brother-in-law. They have four daughters, and but my oldest niece, she has epilepsy, and she's had like several brain surgeries to try to fix that or help it. But this last one, she's early 20s, but this last one really was difficult for her to go through, and we weren't sure she was going to make it through several times.
yeah.
And uh, I think she's getting to where like she can kind of walk a little
Wow.
bit, but she's gonna be almost blind. She has no peripheral vision at all, and it will never get better. Um, so it's like my sister describes it as like looking through a straw,
Oh,
basically.
that's
Like
interesting.
looking through a straw. But and she's like, well, no wonder she was running into stuff and whatever because she couldn't see and her processing time is way slower and stuff like that. But um, so I mean, she's um,
But I know that's hard
yeah,
to watch as a family member, like it's
yeah,
almost grieving somebody who's still here, like whenever you
hmm
watch them like struggle through life like that.
yeah. And I also had a time of grieving when I found out that my brother and sister-in-law were getting a divorce because she was cheating on him with the neighbor guy. And I did cry with that when my mom was telling me because it was just such a shock because nobody ever thought they had like the perfect marriage. Like
Mhm.
I looked to their marriage as what I would want, in my life. And
Yeah, I always compare those marriages to like Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, like, oh
yes.
my gosh, that's what I want to do. And then when they
hmm
divorced, I was like, nothing's real
Yes.
ever again. Like, and then
No.
when you have
Mm-mm.
family members that are very similar to like that, like, oh,
Like
yeah,
if they don't even have hope to have a good marriage, what hope do I?
right. I know, like it's all a
Mhm.
facade, it's all perception, like nothing's real. Yeah, and so that's what it kind of feels like
Mhm.
too, like trying to, when I said earlier, grasp straws to kind of like hold
Mhm.
on to reality, or like, when you're on one of those carnival rides and you're like
Yes. When is
trying,
this gonna end?
yeah, like
Yeah.
just trying to hold on without throwing up. Like
Exactly.
it's like,
Yeah.
and then lately, everything has just been, I've been planning big things or events or dealing with, all this stuff this past year, and even before that, Candace struggled, so we both struggled, together and constant.
Yeah.
And so now I refer it to as the dust is settling, and now it's
Hmm.
like, okay, what do I do? Like,
Hmm.
I'm so used to the chaos and putting the fires out and, constantly moving or changing or creating something that I'm like, uh-oh, like it's getting
Yeah.
quiet.
Hmm.
Like this is too
Like
good
I
to
need
be
to do
true.
something.
Yeah. And like I finally have my medication, the way it kind of makes me feel better, like,
Good.
and then that's when I tell people like, "Oh, you're doing so well." And I'm like, I'm in a lot of therapy and I distract myself a lot with everything that I can possibly like somebody will bring something up. I'm like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let me like do some research and let me blah blah blah. I
Yes.
got this." And they're like, "Wow, you don't have
Yeah.
boundaries." I'm like, "No, I don't. Like, let me help you." Like, what? Like, what? How are you so nice through all this? I'm like, I don't know what else
Hmm.
to do. Like, I've just seen and gone through so much like trauma that it's almost like
Hmm.
you just tell yourself, okay, what can I control? Oh, only my
Hmm.
actions? Oh, yeah. I mean, easier said than done, right?
Yeah,
Because again,
definitely.
I'm like, how do I fix this? How do I control this? Like, what do I got to do?
Hmm.
I need to do better. But then you get exhausted because you're trying to do everything the right way and it still doesn't work out. And here's another plan that fails. And here's another plan that fails. And then it becomes just like, oh, I feel like a failure and I'm exhausted. Okay, I need help. And then it's like, oh, just this vicious cycle. And now, like, I'm kind of in a spot where it's like, oh,
It's too quiet again, or
yeah. And then,
hmm.
Bella's doing great. And
Oh,
I'm,
good.
yeah, closer to her. And she
Hmm.
even sent me a little app the other day, and she was like, it's kind of like Snapchat, but not like,
Hmm.
and she was like, so because I post on here, and so we could be closer. I
Oh,
know, so we could have another little spot of like connection. And I was
yeah.
like, thank you. Like, I immediately
Oh.
downloaded it, and I was like, what should be my new username? You know, and so
Oh.
I make, a meatloaf that people like. And she was
Hmm.
like, Mama's meatloaf or something like that. So I have a
Oh.
username that deals with my meatloaf. So,
Okay.
I just thought that was cute too. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's cute. So she's trying to connect with you, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really good. Like that's kind of something similar with my daughter and my granddaughter. Uh, my daughter got me hooked on this game. It's a Disney game for the computer. It's called Dreamlight Valley. And it's like for, like Maya's age, like 4-year-old or
Yeah.
something, but we we're at a point where now we can do multiplayer so we can play
Ooh.
together. And so
Oh,
my
I love
daughter and my
that.
granddaughter are so excited.
I
So I
love
play.
that. Yeah,
So now we're doing that.
I love that. Yeah, I have a lot more group chats now too, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like it makes it manageable to be able to talk to a
Hmm.
couple people in a group chat, and kind of relay information versus like every day there was, just copy and
Communication.
pasting information, to update and
Uh,
whatnot. So, or
hmm.
trying to, you know, not fall off the face of the earth.
Hmm.
And just,
Yeah, it's trying to stay connected and
yeah. So that's
um
good. Yeah, that your family thinks of things. And I was just like
yeah,
kind of blown away. Like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll download
that's
that
so
right now.
sweet.
Yeah, I'll get rid of
I
every other
I
app.
I do want to ask you this, and of course you don't have to answer
Yeah.
on here if you don't want to, but I was wondering because Bella's logical, how did she deal with the grief?
Oh, yeah. So, Justin was very worried. Okay, so obviously I told him, and then he's a very logical person too.
Okay.
And just that's when you kind of just give that type of person, I'm not saying that type of person in a mean way, I promise. Like,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
data. like, okay, what
Yep.
happened? And then you just kind of go through like a quick report, like you're just telling that person.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that too. Like, I don't want the fluff and I don't want the excuses and I don't want the like reasoning with it. Like, just tell me what happened and tell me where we're at right now, Like, I totally get it and I appreciate that. Um, and then he's like, I don't know how to, like, what do I say to my kids, like,
Hmm.
because he has a daughter that's younger as well. And he's like, and so he needed time to process to see so that it wouldn't affect other children, negatively.
Hmm.
Because you don't learn that as a parent. Like, because
Hmm.
every child, again, is different. Every person is different. Like, how do we say these things without, like, I mean, everyone needs therapy.
Hmm.
But how do we kind of like prevent some of the heavy therapy that we need?
Right.
And so he went and got her and let me know that they were in the car and driving on the way and that they didn't want to miss any updates or anything by being in the air or in a,
Hmm.
airport or anything like that. Like, and it gave them time to kind of process as they were driving out. And that was another one of the reasons I'm like, just hold on for 24 hours. Like,
Hmm.
and again, at the beginning when I got to the ICU, and because we were there for a I was there. I mean, we found her at like 12:20 a.m.
Hmm.
and it was a couple hours before the doctor. I finally was like, okay, I'm hearing everything you're saying, but I'm still trying to be hopeful. But then I looked at him and I said, if this was your family member, what would you call people in? And he looked at me and I just know like he just inside was just dying,
Hmm.
don't make me say this out loud kind of thing. And he
Hmm.
was like, I would call them.
Hmm.
And I just went onto my phone and I started texting everyone first because it was so early. And even Mike and my other coworker Josiah, who I used to work in the ICU with, I know that sometimes they work night shift, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I know this is early, but you guys, I know you guys work weird hours too, but like, so I was just trying to get a response, from someone, and then I started calling, and I'm not a caller or FaceTimer, and
Okay.
so
Yeah.
it's fun. Like I get to giggle now just because looking back, like my sister and everyone, as soon as they said, "Oh my gosh, I got a call," like, "Oh, Dena tried calling me. Oh, Dena tried calling me. Oh shit!"
Right.
Like Dena
Yes.
only calls when there's like a, tragedy,
Hmm.
or something
Right.
crazy is going on. So, they obviously immediately call me back. And then I don't even know how I thought of this, but FaceTiming, like, because
Mm.
as soon as he said that to me, I was like, nobody's going to be able to see her, like, nobody's going to believe
Oh.
me. Like, not believe me, but some people need closure,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and, and I'm like, I offered everyone, I'm like, are you, is it, I don't know what the word I'm trying to use. Do you want to see her like this, basically? Like, and if you like, and
Hmm.
everyone, of course, like, no, show her to me. And I said, just let her hear your voice, like, say stuff. I
Hmm.
don't care what you say, just let her hear your voice. And the nurses were so nice that, I could reach my phone, as they're working. I'm like, and again, I'm just
Hmm.
completely apologetic the whole time. They're like, no, please, because they understand the situation. So my brother, my sister, my ex-husband, and he didn't want to show Bella because he didn't want that to be the last thing that she saw of her sister. They actually
Hmm.
FaceTimed a couple weeks prior, and she just remembered
Hmm.
that she just was like, no, the last time I talked to her, it was kind of like we were best friends for the first time ever. Because,
Um,
they were so close as siblings that they had that like sibling rivalry and everything like that, that she was like, no, it was actually really nice, like, to be able to talk to
mm,
her like that, like a friend, instead of like, oh, Bella, is my little sister and blah, 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 blah.
yes.
Just tagging along and getting in the way and
Hmm.
like, um, so I think that was nice that they had that. And then, but Bella in general handled it way better than me. And I feel terrible all the
Hmm.
time. Guilt, not just for that, but because like w was so emotionally unavailable to Bella through all of this, but I tried so hard. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
What can we do? You know, trying to again distract and find things that we like to do during the summer anyways, you know, like
Hmm. Yeah.
activities and sightseeing and, you know, just things like going up to Iowa to be near family, you know, all the things, right?
Hmm.
And but then we went up to Iowa and we were up at the lake, my brother and sister-in-law's place, and you know, I had a couple drinks, and then next
Hmm.
thing you know, I'm like, you've seen Bella, she's super tall,
Yes.
and I literally like treated her like a little baby. Like I like, can you sit
Oh.
on my lap? And I rocked her a like an
Hmm.
adult, like she was an adult laying on my lap or, you know, sitting on my lap. And I just started rocking her. And I'm like, I know this is crazy. Like, again, that logic side, but the heart side, you know, like I have these
Yes.
conflicting. So I was like, I know this is crazy. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for like playing along. And she's like,
Right.
it's okay,
Humoring
Mom.
me.
Yeah, humoring me. That's the
Oh.
word I'm trying to think of. But so that's who she is. I don't know if that kind of explained her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. It's.
she is so strong and so like mentally strong
Hmm.
and physically strong and just an incredible human. And I'm just so
Hmm.
proud of her every day
Yeah.
for just being so consistent. And she is so kind and so thoughtful all the time.
Mm.
She, you know, carries her sister around in a pendant. And,
Oh,
you know,
good.
even in pictures, like whenever she's in a picture, like even on her birthday, she's holding Candace with her.
Oh.
You know, like she'll hold her, you know, in moments
Oh.
or just make sure that she's talking about her too, you know, and keeping her
Hmm.
alive that way. And so
Yeah.
even with her logic, she tries to be, you know,
Hmm.
sentimental. I don't know if
Right.
I'm putting words in her mouth, but that's just my
Yeah.
perception of that.
Yeah. Yeah. She seems like a good kid. Like, like grounded and
Very.
level-headed and yeah.
Oh, for
And
sure.
but like, and you know this, but like, even though she's logical or whatever, doesn't. I mean, she's still obviously she would be emotional, I'm sure. Like she might, maybe she's the type that would be emotional when she's on her own. At least that's how I am, most of the time. If I'm gonna be emotional, it's usually when I'm by myself. So the other thing is I was gonna say is, at least with the autism, um, for autistic people, and not all autistic people, but some, um, it takes some time to process things
Right.
before the emotions come. So it's like, so when it's happening right in front of you, it might not affect emotionally at that time. And so sometimes people can think like, wow, like she's not even like, they don't even care. They're not showing any
Right.
emotion, but it's because they're processing everything and the emotions will come
Yeah, it's
later.
like, give me a
So,
minute. Yeah.
hmm.
And that's when
Yeah.
you have to tell people, you know, when you're in relationships or like with Bella, I'm like, well, you know, we spent so much time and energy on Candace that we were always, you know, she was the focused child. I don't know if there's a better term
Hmm.
for that.
Hmm.
And Bella is just always good and doing what she's supposed to be doing. And
Yeah.
so she didn't have a lot of attention. And then
Hmm.
when Candace passed away, you know, I forget when it was or what happened, but we all kind of looked at Bella and we're like, okay, all the attention's on you. And she's like, oh crap. I mean, I don't think she didn't say that, but she's just
Right.
like,
She's like,
oh, yeah, she's like, no, I'm fine, please don't.
yeah. Aw.
But at the same time, she's doing well with all the attention as well. Again,
hmm
as far as I
It
can
hasn't
tell.
changed her
No,
stable groundedness, right? Yeah.
no, but she has been
Mhm.
a little bit more brave to ask for things. Um,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know where that originally came from. She's just not like an asker of things. Like she doesn't need anything. She's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was here over the summer, she wanted another set of ear, piercing. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, you're gonna have to ask your dad. Like, and she was like, he said
Mm,
it was okay. And I was like, what? Like,
appreciate it.
how'd you get away with that? And she was like,
Mhm.
well, as long as he feels included in the conversation, I think, and that my ask isn't ridiculous,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
his yeses are coming a little bit easier now, because it's like, okay, what are the real important things in life? Like, am I going to make a big
Mhm.
deal about this? Like priorities change completely. Like,
Mhm.
and so I think she's kind of seeing that as well, kind of like, okay, like, can I
Mhm.
do this? And how about that? But again, completely reasonable.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
oh, like, you feel comfortable asking for your second set of ear holes now? Okay, okay.
Like this is like minor. We can deal with
I know.
this.
I was like, this is great. I love it. And even like we have Candace's heart rate from the hospital that they printed out for us,
Mm, okay.
and fingerprints and all kinds of stuff that
Wow.
we've kind of come together as a family, or as Bella and I. And when she's old enough, it might be 16, it might be 18, it depends on what we decide on, but that'll be the tattoo that we get together, or that she
Mm.
gets to decide on a tattoo. Again, completely crazy, because I've never, she was always the one, like, I'm not she never dyed her hair permanent color, just like
Mhm.
fun temporary sometimes. And um so it's almost like she's rebelling, but like in a
Mhm.
very manageable and oh, very manageable and like not crazy way. Just like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain
But
it.
for
And
her it is,
for
right?
her, yeah, but
Mhm.
still, she's asking permission, and
Mhm.
like saying, this is why I want it, and has a reasonable like request. It's not like, oh, I want this because I saw it and it was cute. It was like, no, these
Mhm.
things like have meaning. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, not sure if that makes a lot of sense, but
It does. Like it reminds me of my daughters and their differences. Like my youngest daughter, she's got like a nose ring and several tattoos, and um, my oldest daughter, she has her ears pierced once. That's it. No tattoos that I know of, anyways. No tattoos and no rings anywhere else.
yeah. And
Just.
the only reason Bella had her first set of earrings was because I pierced Candace's ears, 6 months old, and Bella's ears, 6 months old. And
Mhm.
so I thought that, yeah, I thought that's how she was going to be like her whole life. Like, because I had tattoos and dyed my hair, and Candace, did all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I thought she was like, watching us be wild. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with that. These people are crazy. How am I
Yeah.
related to them? And it's like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
sorry.
Mhm. Was her dad a little bit more kind of conservative, reserved, kind of?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Like, why do you need to dye your hair? Why tattoos? And I mean, he has a
Mhm.
tattoo. So, I mean, he's not removed from reality, like by any means, but
Right.
for his own children, like just wait, until your frontal lobe is developed, and then make these decisions. But
Yeah, that's why I told my kids, I said, when you're 18, you can get a tattoo, whatever, but not before that. It's like, you know what I mean? Like that
Mm-hmm.
was, but that's just kind of how I am too. Like, like your ex-husband, probably more
Yeah.
reserved with that stuff, but because it's permanent, really.
Right. Yeah. He's
So that's
like,
why.
yeah, it's almost like
So,
he's just protective. Like, don't ruin your body,
hmm
just
hmm
respect it, and then other people
hmm
will respect it in turn, if kind of thing. So, yeah, it makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
hmm
But thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything else that you
Yeah.
want to
mm
get to? Is there anything else that maybe you didn't get to say?
mm I don't think so.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we'll start
that's it.
closing then here.
Okay.
So,
hmm
what I hear in both of our experiences is this: logic can steady us, and love moves us. Then connection carries us through that. Whether through memory, spirit, faith, or meaning, nothing truly loved is ever lost. So, as you reflect on this conversation, I invite you to ask yourself, how do you approach grief? Do you find comfort in logic and understanding? Do you allow yourself to feel it fully in your body and your heart? Or do you weave the two together, thinking to survive, loving to endure? There is no right way, there is only your way. So I want to thank Jen again. It was so good seeing you. I miss
Yeah, you too.
you. I'm in a little office
Mm,
now. I love the people that I work with, but the stimulation, you know, from having a
hmm
lot of coworkers in a small space to just a few in a small
Just a
space,
few.
it's kind of like, oh, it's quiet. And I liked it. I mean, like, I like it, but at the same time, like,
Yeah.
as soon as somebody starts having a conversation with me, like, like, oh, an adult conversation. But I was so used
Yeah.
to having so much
And
noise,
I
in
know.
Kansas City that I was like, didn't realize how that was going to be a culture shock as well.
So what are you doing exactly right now?
Quality.
So, like, what are you doing for quality? Like, do you go around the hospital and
So
check?
there's lots of different aspects. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, but there are parts of quality and the surgical services that deal with a certain population that's over a certain age.
Mm,
And so a lot of metrics, a lot of things that we track, a lot of improvements whenever we see a gap in
hmm
a process and obvious room for improvement, then, I went and recently got my yellow belt. That's part of a lean
hmm
program. So
hmm
I went through that class and now continuing the project so that I can
hmm
help a different, help that process
hmm
a little bit better, help facilitate. So I'm learning how to navigate and facilitate people from other areas and to come together and have like a common goal to like again improve a process. So it's pretty cool. I wish I had had this information. I mean, we've always done this. We've always like, okay, how do we improve on
Improve.
things?
hmm
But but now I almost have like a roadmap. They taught it so
Mm.
well and they have so many great resources that it's like, oh, we've just been kind of like Wild Wild West winging it,
Hey,
like trying to
can
figure
you
things
send
out.
me that?
Yeah,
Send me
I
that
would,
roadmap.
yeah,
Oh,
I definitely will. I actually have my work computer
okay.
here, so yeah, I'll forward you a bunch of that information.
Yes,
I
that'd
was
be
actually
awesome.
sending Candy some stuff too, because I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
this is, I just get excited about that kind of stuff,
nice.
So it's like,
Yeah,
they're
I
like, oh,
know.
great. Now Dena can fixate on that hospital. Stay away from us. Stop fixing our
Yeah,
stuff. But yeah,
right.
so I love it. It's was built for me
Awesome.
basically. Yeah. So
Awesome.
and everyone's
Yay.
just so compassionate and kind and have the same kind of personality. Just we want to make everything better for each other and our patients, our veterans.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I totally am in love so far.
That's awesome. That's
And
good.
but yes, thank you for being willing to step into this space with me, for the courage to share honestly, and for the grace you brought to the conversation. And I just, yeah, this has been a good one
Mhm.
today. When you reached out earlier
Yay.
this week, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready, because I kind of bulk record, like I'll come home from
Hmm.
work and I'll just kind of do it for like a week, and then I'll be set for like a certain amount of Sundays. And then
Hmm.
I don't know if it's the weather or, Brian's going to be moving out at the end of February, early March. So things are still
Hmm.
kind of moving and figuring things
Hmm.
out. But at the same time, there's a calm. So I almost
Nice.
like just stay on the couch, like not in a depressive way, just like my
Yeah,
body's
just
finally relaxing.
good.
Yeah. So it's really
That's good.
nice. But
Awesome.
again, at the end of every video, these are sacred conversations, and Candace's presence, if we feel her now, matters. We're going to carry our loved ones forward, holding both the ache and the grace they leave behind. For those who stay, we remember.
Yay.
Yay.